And then having your mind changed and opened up and realizing that a lot of what you've been told was lies and was incorrect. And that is a very common experience. And what I like about our movement is that we welcome people who are converted to come and join us. You know, we have law enforcement against prohibition, and these are police officers who, many of whom spent their whole lives busting marijuana smokers, fighting the war on drugs, thinking they're making the world a better place when really they're destroying families, destroying lives, causing a lot of harm and misery. And I've heard many of them speak quite compellingly, and they'll say, you know, I thought I was doing the right thing, and I worked undercover for 10 years, and I put all those people in jail, and then the more I learned, the more I realized that what I was doing was wrong, and the war on drugs had failed, and now I'm here making a speech to you talking about why marijuana should be legal and why the war on drugs has failed. There's no retribution. We're not like, you did all this harm, you know, thanks for coming on board, brother. Thanks for changing your mind and joining us, right? We've got judges who have spent their careers putting people away for long sentences for marijuana who now come out, oh, I did the wrong thing. Well, they decided that earlier. They could have saved a lot of people a lot of harm and misery, right? But we're not looking for retribution. We're not looking for punishment. We're not looking for anything but to convert people over to our side, to welcome them in to our cause, and to this understanding that the war on marijuana and the war on drugs is a terrible failure. And so it's very heartening for me to see these different groups coming out. Law Enforcement Against Prohibition especially is an amazing organization of police officers, people like David Bratzer out here in Victoria, other officers across Canada. Most of them are retired or not active. Most of them are retired people. We see that over and over again. They wait till their career is over before they go in and make a statement. That's okay. We'll take them anyways, right? We'll take anybody who's going to support what we're trying to do. And what we're seeing now is a great consensus being developed. And the Stop the Violence campaign, led by a fellow named Evan Wood, is doing an incredible job of bringing in mainstream people and releasing it every couple of months, so the issue stays in the news, for politicians and people who are coming on board saying, you're right, the war on marijuana has failed, it's time to legalize, it's time to change the laws. And we had the last three of the former mayors of Vancouver, including Philip Owen, a fellow who went an amazing transformation. Philip Owen started out his career as mayor. Drugs are bad, war is bad, we're going to shut down Mark Emery, selling bongs, corrupting our kids. Mark Emery's going to be toast, is what Philip Owen told the newspapers. Well, now he's out there campaigning with Libby Davies, who is, I think, Canada's top political spokesperson for ending the war on drugs. They ran against each other for mayor of Vancouver at one point. Now they travel together talking about why the war on drugs is a failure and why marijuana should be legalized. Well, I congratulate people who are able to learn and to change their mind and often pay a political price for changing their mind, and for that, I know many police officers don't like other cops who come out against prohibition because they see it as a great big work project, or because they haven't realized yet the harm caused by prohibition. So what we're seeing now in British Columbia is an amazing collection of high-profile political figures coming out. We had the last attorney generals, I think 4 attorney generals just came out recently in support of this, including one fellow named Ujjal Dosanjh, who used to be NDP leader and premier of our province. Back when Ujjal was Attorney General of British Columbia, we actually got to be in the paper together one day. He wrote the anti-side on why marijuana should be legalized, and I wrote the pro-side, and it was in, I think, the Sun of the province. And Ujjal Dosanjh said that one of the reasons marijuana should not be legalized is because in his native country of India, cows eat wild marijuana growing on the side of the road, and they go mad. And this was his argument for why marijuana should not be legalized. Well, that is incredibly ignorant and wrong-headed. But since then, he stood up in Parliament to introduce a petition that Mark Emery should not be extradited. He's been very supportive of Jody and Mark, and now he's coming out as an Attorney General saying, or a former Attorney General saying that marijuana should be legalized. So he's come a long way, and I fully congratulate and support that. I just wish some of them would do it while they're still in office. So we have to not give up. As a majority, our system, we essentially elect a dictator. So in many ways, we are kind of helpless to stop everything he wants to do over the next few years. But let us not forget that we are closer to winning our battles now than ever before. Marijuana prohibition is not going to fade away. It's not going to get less and less and then disappear. It's going to build it to a climax, and then it's going to break, and it's going to end suddenly like that. That's how alcohol prohibition ended. It wasn't like they stopped, they slowed down in the bus, and then eventually... No, the day before they changed the law, it would have been the day with the most bus and the most people in prison, and it's just like that now. Every day more Canadians are in jail for marijuana than the day before. Every day, and not every day, but every few years, the laws seem to get stricter. The last time they changed the law was in 1996, and the Liberals said they were decriminalizing marijuana then. That's actually how they sold it, we're decriminalizing marijuana, but obviously that is not what happened. Instead, they streamlined the justice system, they took away your right to a jury trial, they made it easier for police to seize your property, to take your home, take your car, and those things are continuing now, and provincially as well. I'll just say one thing, provinces sometimes, I was talking about provincial power, and provinces will say, oh, it's a federal issue, we can't do anything. But when it comes to tightening the screws, provinces are more than happy to do all they can. The province of British Columbia and many other provinces have eased the laws, making it, first you had to convict somebody of a crime, then you could take their property. Then you had to convict their property of a crime by saying, well, they could go to civil court, they could sue you, which is a lower level of evidence, and take your property that way. Well, now, if it's under a certain value, a police officer just has to get a bureaucrat to sign off on it. They take your stuff, and then you have to go to court to get it back. So the onus is on you. A cop can take you got $5,000 in your wallet. Well, clearly you're a drug dealer. I'm taking that. You go to a lawyer, oh, it's going to cost $5,000 to get your money back. Well, so and these laws being passed all across Canada in many, many provinces. And so when the provinces say they can't do anything about marijuana or about the drug law, it's all a federal issue. But they're lying, because they are more than happy to take your stuff, to spend money on these laws, and to enforce them. So, where am I at here? I really think that, my little phone is frozen up. I really think that we are on the verge of great change in Canada and around the world. And I think that Canada is uniquely situated to have a great influence in this battle on our American neighbors and around the world, because we are so close to the U.S., because we are so similar in so many ways, and yet so very different in so many other ways. I think that Canada has the ability to lead America on this issue, and where America goes with prohibition, most of the world will go with prohibition as well. And certainly our proximity, our smaller size, and the fact that we can set an example for our American cousins. And let's not forget that many American states have also taken great strides towards ending prohibition as well. There's been a big backlash against mandatory minimums in many American states. Certainly, I think, 25 or 30% of Americans now live in states that have legalized medical marijuana in one form or another, and in almost every instance, it's only through people power. In almost every instance, the legislatures oppose these measures. Very rarely do you get a state governor saying, I want you to support this medical marijuana recommendation. It's always the opposite way. I think Hawaii is one of the few states that the legislature actually passed their own law about medical marijuana and didn't wait for a referendum. But otherwise, it's always the people rising up and the government trying to stop it or control it, and then when it gets passed, they try to screw around with it so they can take out what it's really trying to do and trying to mess with it. So we need to organize, we need to get politically involved, we need to get involved in the political process, and we need to use all the tools that we have, all the political tools that we have to change these laws. And let's not forget, we enjoy marijuana, it's fun. Let's not forget the people who are in prison right now for marijuana use. And let's not forget the many more that are going to be in prison in the jails that Harper is building right now all across our country. And these jails aren't just for the marijuana people, they're for poor people, they're for Aboriginal people, they're for mentally disturbed people, they're for other non-violent criminals, they're for all kinds of people. And the marijuana folks, we're just one of the many that are going to be put inside these prisons, that are going to lose our freedom because of things that are not criminal acts, that are things that are not harming anybody else, that aren't even harming ourselves, that are benefiting ourselves. And so we got to remember these things and the people that are in prison, and that what we're fighting for, it's not just about us here and about our enjoyment of marijuana or about our risk. It's about the whole planet. It's about our children and our grandchildren. It's about creating a society that is better for everybody. And that Canada, if we do this right, Canada can become a shining beacon of tolerance and of love and freedom and what cannabis can do around the world. And the way that Holland and Amsterdam is often held up as an example of a country that has taken a different path and has really not even gone that far, really. They're taking a little bit of a different path and the enormous benefits that can produce. When Canada changes these laws, when we win, when British Columbia wins a referendum in 2014 and we decriminalize marijuana possession, when Canada finally changes these laws, hopefully in 2016 or 2017 after we elect the NDP government in 2015, we can see, it will be something that will be heard around the world. Marijuana is the most important plant, and in my opinion, it is going to be a transformation of our society that will encompass every aspect of our society in every possible way. Cannabis is going to influence everything, from the way hemp can be used, as I've talked about, for food, for fuel, for fiber, from our clothes, to our automobiles, to our food, to our medicine, to our culture and our spirituality. Cannabis and other magical plants are going to play a transformative role in our society, in our lives. And I hope that I live long enough to see that process at least begin. And so I want you to imagine yourselves, this is to close my little talk here, I want you to imagine yourselves in the future, because it's easy to imagine a terrible future where we're all in prison, but let's imagine a wonderful future. Let's imagine yourself as a grandparent, a grandmother, or grandfather, and you're in a home that's built out of hemp, and you're smoking and consuming your cannabis medicine legally to help you ease the aches and pains of being a senior citizen. And your grandchild is there, with you, reading their textbook from school, printed on hemp paper, reading their history book, eating their hemp granola cereal while they get ready to go to school. They're going to catch the school bus made of hemp that's fueled on hemp to a school made out of hemp. And I want it to be a situation where that child is reading in their history book and they're looking back on things. I want them to turn to you and to go, Grandma, Granddad, it says here in my textbook that hemp was illegal when you were a kid, that people would go to jail for marijuana, and what's all this can't be right? What's this all about? And I want you to be able to say, it's true. When I was young, when I was a younger person, when I was a young man, people would go to jail for marijuana. Even growing hemp, we'd go to jail for it. It was illegal. But you know what? I help make a difference. It's because of me and people like me that you will never have to know what it's like to risk prison for what herb you grow in your garden. It's because of me and people like me that you have the ability to be well nourished on hemp food and well clothed with hemp clothes that don't destroy the environment, that are grown locally and fairly, and that you have the ability to access marijuana medicines that help you with the ailments of everyday life, and that you live in a society that does not have prisons that are full of pot smokers and other nonviolent criminals. I want you to be able to look back over your life and the victories you've had and to feel a sense of pride and accomplishment that you were part of this revolution that not only transformed your city and your province and your country, but helped transform our entire planet. There's only 40, 50 of us in this room. That's all it takes, folks. That's all it takes. If we get out there, if we do this work, if we persist, if we don't give up, if we spend a little more effort every day to make these changes, we can do it. We can end this war that all of us have lived under prohibition our whole lives. Nobody in this room has ever known what it's like to be a citizen of a country where marijuana is fully legal, where the war on drugs is something in the past and not a nightmarish future that we all face. We can get out of this nightmare that we're in right now, and we're so close. I know it feels far away, but trust me, we are so close. We are on the verge of major transformative change. And we need your help. Get your friends, your family, your parents, get involved. We can make a difference. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
We don't have to be in the room right away, but 4:20 is coming.
Right. Okay.
So Dana, I think we'll be here for a few more minutes maybe one quick question.
Yeah, can I just say something about prohibition? For 30 years, I agreed with everything you said, brother. But over the last 10 years, I think one of our main opponents is the Pharmaceutical Society, because they are in deep fear of the medicinal effects, right? And as the society catches on to it, it's not one of those illegal bad drugs, and starts saying, no, we don't want your pharmaceutical crap pushed on us, like it's going down here, legalized drug pushes and bad drugs. That's the people that are keeping it illegal. I think they got more power than our politicians.
I would say I absolutely agree that some of the main funders of much of the drug war are pharmaceutical companies, alcohol companies, and petroleum companies. And I think they all are aware at one level or another that marijuana is a threat to their high profit margins. Absolutely.
Everybody on pharmaceuticals, the more that they can escape the tax.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, And plant medicines, the people's medicines, they're virtually free to produce. Pharmaceuticals are very expensive, often very harmful and ineffective. I'm not against pharmaceuticals, but I'd love to see an equal playing field. And in that situation, I think that most pharmaceuticals could not compete with natural plant medicines if it was fully equalized. I'll just say one more thing, DanaLarsen.com, endprohibition.ca. Go to those two places if you want to find out more. I'm free to, call me anytime. I'm more than easily to talk to and accessible. Love to answer any questions or anything else like that.